Okay, so let's be real. Have you ever felt like you're just drowning in a sea of academic papers? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. But here's the thing. The secret isn't about reading faster. It's about reading smarter. And today, we're going to unlock the exact strategies that top students and researchers use to tackle those huge reading lists. It's all about working smarter, not harder.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? The syllabus drops, and boom, you're suddenly staring at a literal mountain of articles and books. It is so overwhelming. It feels like you're just standing at the bottom looking up thinking, how on earth am I supposed to climb that? But here's the big secret, the thing they don't always tell you. The most successful students aren't necessarily the fastest readers. Nope, they're the most strategic. They don't just brute force their way through every single word. Instead, they've got this awesome toolkit of reading techniques. And more importantly, they know exactly which tool to pull out for which job.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to talk about the challenge itself. Then, we'll start building out that toolkit with some key skills, previewing, searching for the specifics you need, and doing that deep dive for real understanding. And then, we'll put it all together so you can become a super flexible, super efficient reader. Okay, first things first, and this is crucial. Effective reading, it actually starts before you even look at the first sentence. It all begins with one simple but powerful question: why am I reading this? Seriously, your purpose is everything. It dictates your entire strategy. If you don't have a clear goal, you're basically just wandering through the text without a map. I mean, just think about it for a second. Are you on the hunt for one very specific statistic for an essay you're writing? Or maybe you're trying to combine ideas from like 3 different sources for a literature review? Or are you just trying to get a general feel for a brand new topic? See, each one of those goals demands a completely different approach, a totally different reading strategy.
So once you've got your purpose locked in, it's time to scout the terrain. This is what we call the previewing stage. Think of it like getting a bird's eye view of that mountain before you start climbing. You wouldn't just start walking, right? You'd look at a map first.
And the first tool for that is skimming. Now, this is way more than just speed reading. It's a really strategic first pass. The goal here is to quickly figure out what's the main idea and, just as importantly, is this text even worth my time for what I need to do? You can think of it as your own personal reconnaissance mission.
So, how do you actually do it? Well, you want to think like a detective looking for clues. Zero in on the title, the headings, and if there's an abstract, read that for sure. A great tip is to always read the first and last paragraphs. That's where authors usually drop their biggest summaries. Oh, and scanning just the first sentence of every paragraph, that can give you a surprisingly good map of the whole argument. All right, the next tool we can use right after skimming is predicting. It's pretty cool. Based on what you just skimmed, you start making these educated guesses about what's coming next. What you're really doing is firing up your own brain, connecting what you already know to what you're about to read. And this is so powerful because it makes the new information stickier and it gets you reading with a much more critical eye from the get-go.
Okay, but let's be honest, sometimes you're not looking for the big picture at all. Sometimes you are on a very specific treasure hunt. You need one piece of information, a name, a date, a specific term. And for that, we need to shift gears from previewing to searching.
This technique is called scanning, and you do this all the time. Think about how you look for a friend's name in your contacts or a specific dish on a huge menu. You're not reading every word, are you? No way. Your eyes are just sweeping across the page, looking for a specific shape, that word, that number, whatever it is. Your brain knows exactly what the target looks like, and it ignores everything else.
Now, it's really important to draw a line between scanning and a related skill called search reading. They're a little different. When you scan, you're looking for a very specific word, like, say, photosynthesis. You know the exact word. But with search reading, you're looking for a whole concept, like the author's opinion on climate change. You don't know the exact words they're going to use, so you have to read a bit more closely to hunt for the idea itself.
So far, all our techniques have been about staying on the surface, right? Skimming, scanning, it's all pretty quick. But what happens when you need to truly understand the material? Well, that's when we gear up for the deep dive. This is where our goal is complete and total comprehension. And this is where careful reading comes in. This is that slow, deliberate process that, most of us just call studying. You're not just plucking out facts anymore. Here, you're tracing arguments, you're questioning the evidence, you're really wrestling with complex ideas. Yeah, this is when you break out the highlighters and get ready to take some serious notes.
And a huge part of careful reading is this subtle art of inferring. Basically, it's reading between the lines. An author might not come right out and say what their bias is or what their real purpose is, but trust me, they leave clues in their word choice, in their tone. Being able to pick up on those clues, that's inferring, and it's what separates a passive reader from a truly active critical thinker.
Okay, so let's take a step back. We've built our toolkit, right? We've got skimming, scanning, careful reading, and inferring. The final step, the master level, is learning how to use them all together. See, the ultimate goal isn't to be amazing at just one of these skills. It's to become a flexible reader, someone who can look at any academic mountain and know exactly which tools to use to get to the top.
You know, here's what it really all comes down to. At its heart, effective reading is about making conscious choices. It's about taking that 1 second to pause before you start and asking yourself, okay, what's my goal here? And then deliberately, consciously picking the right tool from your kit for that specific job.
And you know, a huge part of being flexible is just understanding how academic texts are usually put together. It's like a cheat code. Knowing that a paper typically has an abstract, then an introduction, then methods, results, and so on, that gives you a map. You can then make a smart decision to say, just read the abstract and conclusion to get the gist, or maybe dive super deep into only the results section, all depending on what you actually need.
Ultimately, this whole thing boils down to 4 key decisions that an active reader is always making. First, why am I reading this? Second, what am I reading? Third, how am I going to read it? And fourth, and this is a big one, how well am I actually understanding this as I go? This whole process of thinking about your own thinking has a fancy name, metacognition, but honestly, it is the absolute key to becoming a master reader.
And of course, look, none of this is magic. It doesn't work without practice. Just like any skill, from playing guitar to shooting hoops, reading gets better and better with repetition. The more you consciously use these strategies, the more they just become second nature. And trust me, the better and way more efficient your reading will become.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. The very next time you sit down with a dense, academic text, what are you going to do differently? Are you going to skim it first? Will you take that extra 30 seconds to define your purpose before you even start? The power to completely transform your reading, it's right there, in the decisions you make before you even read that first word.